hear you're ready for your dose of reality. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dr. Quack Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Quack, and I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem, and I'm sorry. I wanted to do this because it's been a long time since I've seen it, and oh my God, I apologize.
Why do you got to punish me now? Why do you got to punish me?
This one I deserve. I deserve every name in the book throwing at it because this pile of dog garbage, not dog shit. We're going to be talking about it because there actually is a lot of history going on in here and a lot of things that need to be discussed.
Definitely. You know what? If you got the notes for this, because I didn't even want to write that down. That's how bad I felt on this show.
I've got notes here, and let's talk a little bit about it because Dr. Quack did put this out here that some of the matches were not aired by the WWE Network or the Peacock Network or anything. Well, I did a little research and I found out why. Right now, Jim Herd is in charge of the NWA's version of WCW, which is Jim Crockett Promotions. It's not owned yet by Ted Turner. This is just Jim Crockett Promotions. And Jim Crockett was starting to lose a lot of money trying to fight the WWE and all this stuff going on. So at this time, they had VHSs, video cassette recorders, the little tapes. Well, the difference between filming a 2-hour tape or a 3-hour tape was very, very expensive at this time. So what they did is they went through all their matches. Yes, exactly. They went through all their matches and they went, okay, what has title implications? Those were in. And then they had to figure out what left was out there to give them their 2 hours of video. So there were matches like the Junkyard Dog taking on Moondog Rex. Didn't make the cut. The Master Blasters, which thank God they didn't make the cut. That's Kevin Nash and Al Green. They didn't make the cut. The other Laurinaitis brother, Matt Laurinaitis, who was Rage of Rage and Fury, did not make the cut. And thank God for all of that. So that is why we only got partial matches. Now, when Vince McMahon obtained the entire library, he got those other matches. But they were not properly stored and maintained, and their quality was so low, Vince McMahon said, I will not air them. There's nothing I can do to fix them. And that's why we're only going to be reviewing some of the matches.
Yeah, on color commentary was Jim Ross and Paul Lee Dangerously. They met up later on down the line. Paul Heyman came out, and they really just were never, ever really good.
This was better because this was Paul Lee Dangerously, not Paul Heyman. So he wasn't quite as loud. He hadn't formed ECW yet or Extreme Championship Wrestling. So he didn't have all of that going on. But, of course, they're dressed up. JR was a mafia kingpin. Paulie Dangerously was a Dracula. And we got on backstage commentary, which is where he belonged in the first place, Tony Schiavone as the Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah. Oh, God, move on.
I'm trying to move on. Gary Michael Capetta, he was the ring announcer. He did a great job. And I wrote down the referees as we get to them throughout the show. There weren't very many.
Yeah, thank God. Let's move into the opening match here. Tommy Rich and Ricky Morton taking on the Midnight Express, Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane with Jim Cornette.
All right, so this is the last time we see the Midnight Express in the NWA for a very long time. And we'll explain that at the end of this match. Now, this was Ricky Morton and Tommy Rich, Wildfire Tommy Rich, who I think you know or you've met him or hung out with him.
Really great guy.
I cannot stand him. I think he's a god-awful worker in the ring. But he did great against Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer in the last Battle of Atlanta. He's a former world champion for 6 days because Harley Race felt sorry for him. Anyway, Robert Gibson was injured, legit. He had to have knee surgery. That's why Tommy Rich is in this match, taking on Sweet Stan and Bobby Eaton. Nick Patrick refereed this match, and this match was decent. The directing was really bad. Jim Herd had a really bad habit of hiring directors that weren't used to doing live television. So you would get a lot of cuts where, like, Bobby Eaton was telling Cornette, hey, you're not in place yet. You're not in place yet. And you could see Bobby Eaton, you could hear Bobby Eaton say, you're not in place yet. So they had a really bad time of the cuts, but the action was very, very good. I did enjoy it. I went 2 3/4.
Yeah, I went 2.5. I mean, the best part of this match was watching the fans. They were into this match, which I definitely enjoy. When you see fans not sitting on their hands, when you actually see them getting into the match, you know, getting into what Jim Cornette was doing out there. Overall, this was a solid match. I went 2.5.
And then one of the teams that didn't get to appear, but they were on the show, they just didn't get to appear on the WWE's version. The Wild Eyed Southern Boys came down dressed up as fake Jim Cornette with plastic rackets, started attacking people. That was very, very funny.
Yes, I enjoyed it. That was probably the second best part.
Yeah. Now the reason that this is the last time, Jim Herd and Jim Cornette did not like each other. If you ever listen to the Jim Cornette Experience or the Jim Cornette Drive-Thru, he will talk at length about Jim Herd. We've even talked about the Pizza Man at length and the damage he did. Well, he pissed off Jim Cornette and Stan Lane so badly they left 4 days later. They had to have mailed them their last check. That's how bad they wanted to leave and left Bobby Eaton there by himself to join the Dangerous Alliance. So this is one casualty of the Jim Herd era, which only started January of 1989. This is October of 1990.
And that's why he gets the 2-finger salute.
That's the full fist salute. He earned that.
He did.
He earned that.
God, you know, look, just because you run a business does not mean you can run in the wrestling business. Totally different there, Pizza Hut man. Let's move on before I get totally upset.
Yeah, well, I want to get into something that this is another thing of history. The next thing they had is a segment with the Black Scorpion.
Oh, boy, yes.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Now, this again is October 1990. Sting won the world title in November 7th, 1990. He was supposed to win it back in February because he was a member of the Horsemen in 1989, and in February of 1990, they kicked him out of the Horsemen, and as he was climbing up the cage to set up their match for March, he ruptured his knee and had to stay out for 5 months because of surgery. So now he's come back. We're going to talk about Capital Combat a little bit, where RoboCop came and pulled the door off the cage so Sting could move on to July to win the title, where he did from Ric Flair. And now in August, all of a sudden, the Black Scorpion has appeared. And the Black Scorpion, everybody wanted it to be the Ultimate Warrior. The Ultimate Warrior, they thought was going to leave WWF and come sign for them because they offered him 7 figures. And he said no. So they kind of scrambled with what to do. It was Al Perez and the Angel of Death and a few other people. Well, this version is not a wrestler. They hired magician Franz Herreri to do all the magic spots. And they paid him 6 figures to do these magic spots. And then you wonder why you couldn't get a 3-hour video from Jim Crockett Promotions.
And now, you know what the worst part of this whole segment was? Can I point that out?
Ole Anderson on the voice box. Go ahead.
No, even worse. When you see the whole tapestry come up there to make it look like he was disappearing, you could actually see on camera the Black Scorpion walking down the stairs and walking away. God, way to take away the illusion. It's called zoom in there, Jim Herd.
Yes, and Ole Anderson was on the voice box, so it was really obvious who he was. Now that we've wasted time, but at least it's historically significant because the Black Scorpion is one of the most remembered bad angles in pro wrestling history.
Yeah, moving along, please. Let's move along.
Let's move along.
Fabulous Freebirds, Michael P.S. Hayes and Jimmy Garvin with Little Richard Marley. Yeah, this guy. Taking on the Renegade Warriors, and not the Renegade that took on Hogan, Chris and Mark Youngblood.
All right, so this was Randy Anderson refereeing. And Little Richard Marley was an independent jobber who got some time in the NWA. You're going to hang yourself?
I swear to God, it's about to end, dude.
It's okay. I've put up with it enough. I'm sorry. Again, I deserve all of this. Rocky King was little Richard Marley. He was a perennial jobber who they decided because he could actually sing, they called him Little Richard Marley. And he joined up with the Freebirds for a little while. And they put out a guy named, I wrote it down here, Alan Iron Eagle was the person they took out. Well, Alan Iron Eagle was Joe Gomez, who came back to WCW in 1996 and did a few spots here and there before everybody went, hey, wait a minute. Aren't you Alan Iron Eagle? You suck. So that went Joe Gomez. Now, Chris and Mark Youngblood, they are the brothers of Jay Youngblood, who used to team with Ricky Steamboat when they won the world titles in the NWA. They're not as talented. This match was meh.
I have one word for it.
Meh.
Yawn.
Meh, yeah. I went 1.5. I mean, there was nothing technically wrong with this match. It was just really super boring, and it went too long, which made it even worse.
And the fans did this. They sat on their hands. Yeah, I went 1 star on this. God, could you have picked one of the better matches? I think I would have seen the Master Blasters over this. That's what I felt on it.
JW Storm and Brad Armstrong, which was another match we didn't get to see, which was only 6.5 minutes long instead of this 13 minutes. They could have saved a few dollars.
Yeah, could have. Moving along here, God, the Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott Steiner taking on the Nasty Boys.
Yep, U.S. Go ahead.
NWA U.S. Tag Team titles.
Yes, and Mike Adkins was the referee here. Now, he was actually a pretty decent referee. He was from the Chicago area. He was NWA Midwest, and he didn't do anything else other than that, but he helped them out, and he did a decent job, even though this match was way out of control.
I love that because the brutality in this match is what was great. And that's why this gets my quack attack. Because this match here was a great fight. This is something you wanted to see out of all the other matches. The first 2 just really killed everything. God, can you come up with a better order, Jim Herd? Thank you. Fuck you. Bye.
Yeah, this match was sloppy. But both of these teams kind of had a rough and tumble about them. That sloppiness. They use the Wahoo McDaniels. Fights aren't pretty, so it shouldn't look pretty. And again, I do kind of agree with that when it makes sense, like this one. Now the referee, he did actually lose control. You could tell he got frustrated, went like that a couple times, and finally it got back together. But I went 3 stars. It was a really, really good fight. Scott Steiner pinning Brian Knobbs to retain the title.
Yeah, I'm with you. 3 stars. I mean, I just love brutality a little bit. And in the 80s, you could get it out there, and this is one of those examples.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, moving along here. Another good match, though. Doom, Ron Simmons and Butch Reed over here, taking on, with Teddy Long, taking on Ric Flair and Arn Anderson.
Yeah, this was the Horseman battle, and as we said, Doom was Ron Simmons and Butch Reed. They originally appeared masked. When they first won the titles, they were a masked tag team. They actually were managed at first by Woman.
Yes.
And then they got managed by Teddy Long because he had been fired for being a referee because he was biased, storyline purposes. And they won the titles at Capital Combat 90, which that's all we're going to say about that. Editor, do not put that on the run sheet. Oh my God. But anyway, this match ended in a double countout, and they really did a good job of this. A lot of times double countouts don't get done very well. They'll do a regular match, and then all of a sudden they realize, oh, it's time to go home. Let's act like we hate each other. This one, they actually did that all the way through, and it was a great match. I really enjoyed it. I went 3 stars on this one as well.
Yeah, I mean, I went 3.5. I did enjoy this match. The only thing I did not enjoy was the finish. I would have rather seen somebody pinned, but I understood that this made sense because you didn't want to make either team look weak. It was a good double count out. That's what it came up to, and they were fighting all the way to the back. So it made sense, at least on that standpoint.
Yeah, I agree there.
Yeah, moving along here. NWA United States Heavyweight Championship. Stan Hansen taking on Lex Luger.
Yes, Lex Luger at this time has the record for the longest reign as the United States champion at 583 days.
I'll be your hero.
Stan Hansen was my hero in this match. Now, Stan Hansen has a big reputation of being kind of stiff and working a lot in Japan, where they work a little more stiff. The strong style comes from Japan, and Stan Hansen works it. Well, they also brought out Dangerous Dan Spivey, who was one of his teammates over there in All Japan at this time. And Now, the style between Luger, who was pretty boy and didn't like to be touched and didn't like to be hurt and always yelled "ow" because he thought he was really being hurt.
Ow!
Well, we heard a lot of that. And Stan Hansen was tough with him. This was Mike Adkins refereeing. It was okay. I went 2 1/4. That's kind of unfair because this match was better than 2 1/4, but the styles just really didn't work.
I'll tell you the best part of this match, and I'm going to explain the difference. Here you go. Term of the day, lariat, clothesline. There's a big difference. Clothesline, you're generally hitting somebody. Lariat is almost like a haymaker coming at somebody. It's like the clothesline from hell from JBL later on. It's supposed to look decapitating, and Stan Hansen knew how to throw that very well.
Yes, and actually one more thing that defines the difference between a clothesline and a lariat is you're still standing on your feet. It's a clothesline. You go down with them. It's a lariat.
Yeah, because he really just laid into him in that finish, and I love that. That's why I went 2 3/4 stars. I was going to go 2.5, but that extra quarter deserves that.
There you go. Why not?
And we move into the main event.
Yeah, because we don't want to talk about Missy Hyatt. She came on before that. I wrote down "ugh." That's my entire note.
Yeah, move on here. Sting against Sid Vicious. NWA World Heavyweight title.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, if I sound like Eric Bischoff in the early 90s trying to put something over, that's how I'm feeling.
Yeah, Nick Patrick refereed this match. I'm not feeling this match either. This is a true dumb match. Sting at this time was still green. Sid Vicious was not a great worker, and these two guys didn't gel very well. They did okay.
I love Sid, but I'm going to tell you, once you see Sid, once you've really seen him in every match. It's the same setup, same moves. It's nothing different. You're not getting any different reaction. He doesn't really know how to sell, and we've already seen him try to cut a live interview. We'll get into that at another point.
At another point, yeah. You're not as dumb as I think I am.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So anyway, this was a really dumb, dusty finish. To explain the story on this is that Sting is going along and Sid Vicious is coming back and they fight their way out of the area. Well, about this time, the Horsemen show up, as in Arn Anderson and Ric Flair show up and distract the referee. And all of a sudden, Barry Windham replaces Sting as Barry Windham is being drugged to the ring, gets body slammed, and gets pinned, and they announce Sid as the world champion. Well, 30 seconds later, Sting comes down there and knocks over Sid Vicious and gets the pin, and everybody goes, I was so confused.
Yeah.
1.5 stars.
Yeah. I went to, I hate this for a main event. God, you're better off make Sting and, Flair and Anderson against Doom as the main event. That was a more polished match. But, Jim Herd, thank you. Thank you again.
Yeah, and he, like I said, this was October 1990. He lasted until January 1992. And he hasn't even got to the point yet where he's telling Ric Flair to shave his head, put an earring in his ear, and call himself Spartacus. That hasn't even happened yet.
But that's the end of this show. And, thank you for making me have to go through this. Because now it's your turn.
Oh, no.
Because guess what? We're not reviewing a pay-per-view. We're reviewing a special show. And it's right here.
We're reviewing a special show.
We're reviewing a special person in the wrestling world.
Okay, good. He said it's not Capital Combat.
It's not Capital Combat.
All right,
you may not enjoy this.
It's some good shit. I guess since he's retired, is this going to be his highlights or his lowlights?
Well, it's going to be lights.
It's lights. Gotcha.
It's going to be lights.
All right, I guess I deserve this.
Yeah, so we're going to have that on our next show. But stay tuned. If you check out our special YouTube channel, we will actually be running down the next shows we're going to have for the remainder of the year. I'm Dr. Quack.
I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem. Folks, I apologize to you because we don't deserve this, but I deserve it.
It's some good shit.